While in the doom of Han Dynasty, corruption sought countering the vortex, nationwide social disarray made the masses of no means to life. Peasant riots spread over the entire territory. Oracle Zhangjiao raised up, hopeless people all joined this anti-government revolution. Central army at the rate of decay before the crisis. Government had to plead for aid from civilian force. But plenty of warlords responded to call. They were the monster Dongzhuo and this beast, Li Bu. The so-called heroes Yuan brothers, Water Master Sun family, Stray Roy Liu Bei with his dragon and tiger, Western Wolf Ma Cao with his fellow Hanzo, the hermit Liu Bei and his distant relative Liu Zhang, also protagonist Cao Cao with his wizards. Heroes unfolded a gorgeous stage in history. The throat-cutting competition is looming. 155 AD, Cao Cao was born in Anhui Kurdish name the pet name Murma, a third generation of Power officer. His grandfather Cao Dong was titled to make aside the emperor. His younger father Cao Song was adopted for the position of military officer. No record shows where his father was from. Cao Cao was alert, smart, into the scheming since a very young age, but he didn't like studying and work. Therefore nobody thought he was going to be somebody in the future. But the world still two old men recognized his unique. One of them told him that the world is going to be in chaos. Only the chosen one takes the target, and I think you are that one. After 20-year-old, Cao Cao was promoted several times, smoothly ended the central government's group. Years later, the nationwide peasant revolution burst. Cao Cao put on the rise in his county and been awarded as kind of city made there. During his term, he imposed restrictions on corruption and bribery, eliminated insistent bloodsuckers, cut off necessary supplies of those pointless faith and ceremonies. Society gradually recovered in peace. Nevertheless, he slashed and hatred from those high-level lawbreakers. Soon he was asked to leave the position for an unmoderated offer. I denied and went back home claiming sickness. Before long, a group of plotters led by one of them was planning to abolish the emperor and dethrone their own puppet. The group ever invited Cao Cao to join but he rejected. The conspiracy failed in the end. Soon after, Hanzo and Bianzhang rose in revolt in Hanzo. They killed a city official and gathered more than 100,000 rebels. The west line border lost control. Central government recalled Cao Cao and granted him the military power. Just at this moment, the emperor was dying. His young son Lik took over his throne, but the Queen Mother became the real person in reign. Senior General He Jing asked the Queen Mother for a purge on those highly consumptive units, but the Queen Mother ignored. Irritated, He Jing retaliatively asked Dongzhuo, the most powerful warlord at the western border, to take his troops to the capital in order to coerce a compromise from Queen Mother. However, He Jing was assassinated before his invitation of seeing the sunrise with Dongzhuo. Dongzhuo rushed into the capital, impeached the young emperor and his Queen Mother, roughly crowned another puppet for his own taste. Then the endless abuse of power and tyranny started. Monster Dongzhuo appreciated Cao Cao's talent and attempted to wound his heart with a considerate promotion, but Cao Cao didn't give a shit. He faked his identity and fled back home all the way from the fifth path. Unluckily, he was caught at Hulao Pass. Luckily, he was saved by an acquaintance on the way he was detained. Whilst the monster undisguisedly killed the Queen Mother and his young prince stepped a little bit further on his blueprint, the capital was chaotically disordered. Cao Cao rushed back home, spread out his money, built up an army ready to ask Dongzhuo for justice. It was December 189 AD. One night in January, a cross-nation uprising raised up for knocking down the monster's puppet government. Participants included Yuan Shao, Han Fu, Kong Bo, Liu Dai, Wang Huang, Yuan Shu, Zhang Miao, Qiao Mao, Yuan Yi, Bao Xing. They elected Yuan Shao as the leader of this alliance. Cao Cao participated as the commanding general. Monster Dongzhuo got the news in February. He soon moved the puppet emperor to his red base and packaged all the treasures. But Dongzhuo didn't go. He garrisoned in front of the capital and set the whole city on fire. On the other side, Alliance leader Yuan Shao camped in Henei. His deployments were spread around the north Henei and the south of Hebei. But the Alliance dared not to go any further. The monster had a very experienced battle beast son and a well-built cavalry. But it didn't scare Cao Cao. He said to the whole camp that, "Our hammer has assembled. There's no point for us to hesitate anymore. Situation will be passive if Dongzhuo still have the emperor in his hand, but now the emperor has been moved away. For more, the whole city is waiting for us to go, as the monster had already lost people's hearts. We hold the justice. We don't need to be afraid. Let's end him. Just after this war, Cao Cao took out his troop and camped further along. One of the warlords' army split a small team following him up. That was the only reinforcement. We soon encountered monster spearhead. More experienced army ruthlessly educated this innocent kid. Cao Cao lost his horse and got an arrow shot. His cousin Cao Hong gave him the horse. Cao Cao uncollectedly escaped the battlefield under the cover of the night. The enemy Xu Long knew Cao Cao had no reinforcements, so he pushed him all the way back to the base and pulled back. While the frustrated Cao Cao left the base, he was even more disappointed. He saw over 100,000 professional military workers drinking all the day with no attempt to make any progress. He was totally out of temper. He blamed out. "You guys should have followed me up to the front line, siege Dongzhou and made the threat. The enemy will panic themselves because they got no support from the city. We don't even need to attack. But you guys are holding the excuse of justice only for making people souvenir wines. What a shame." Listeners were awkward, but no one would seem to listen. Then Cao Cao left the camp for Hanzo with his most trusted one, Xia Hongdun, to rebuild their army. With the help of local officials, Hanwen and Zhou more than 4,000 soldiers were recruited. However, more than half of them fled on the way. When they arrived at the base, there were only 1,000 remained. The serious inner conflict occurred in the base. Liu Dai killed Qiao Ma and transferred his troop to Wang Hong. Jealousies and prejudice filled up the atmosphere. In order to recognize people, the leader Yuan Shao proposed to enthrone another prince, establish a new government in the north to balance the monster in the west. But it earned a strong rejection from Cao Cao. Yuan Shao was quite unhappy. He handed over an imperial seal to Cao Cao for embarrassing him in public. Cao Cao laughed out and turned his ugly face to Yuan Shao, saying that, "We're coming for justice, and this is the only reason we're sitting here. Our young emperor is under control of those beasts without a choice. Before you guys enthrone someone else, I wish all of you guys remember what we're coming for." With a moment of silence, he continued with an emotionless face. "You guys go north, I go west." 191 spring, Yuan Shao found his ideal puppet, Liu Yu, but Liu Yu dared not to accept from the start to the end. April, monster Dongzhou withdrew to Xi'an. July, Yuan Shao forced Hanzo to hand over his power in the north. It got expanded. 182 spring, a group of gangsters rioted in the north of Henan. Cao Cao was ordered to commit a suppression. Gangsters was harassing the city 88 kilometers away to the east of Cao Cao. Everyone suggested him to prepare the defense, cause the enemy was quite close, but Cao Cao unexpectedly marched west, directly stuck into enemy's base. Enemy's main force rushed back in a hurry and got defeated. People were amazed by his move. Cao Cao explained, "I set them a dilemma, they got lost." April, in central government, Premier Wang Yun successfully drove a wedge between Dongzhou and his beast, Lü Bu. The monster eventually tasted his own evil. He got killed by his beast's son. Wang Yun paid his life to this coup, and Lü Bu was also evicted. Li Jue became the new puppeteer. Whilst Cao Cao put on several peasant riots in Shandong province and took over their territories, it got quite expanded. Yuan Shao broke up his brother Yuan Shu. They got dog in front of Cao Cao, but Cao Cao's extended territory screened out both of them. 193, Warlord Che Xue enthroned himself and claimed independence in Pizhou. Another Warlord Tao Jin joined and integrated Xuzhou city into the territory. Obviously, Cao Cao went for them. Autumn, he took back a dozen of lost towns in Xuzhou. Tao Jin huddled up in that city. This year, Yuan Shu dispatched Sun Ce across Sanjiao River to expand dominance. Sun Ce occupied the whole southeast within a few years and built up a strong Sun family. War spring, Cao Cao retreated from Xuzhou temporarily. Bad memory come up his head. Years ago, his father was killed by Tao Jin in his territory. All belongings were stolen. This happened under the monster's rise. Emily dragged him back again this summer. Dozens of massacres were committed. Tao Jin dared not to say a word. He handed over the majority of his territory all the way to East China Sea for Cao Cao. At this point, Street Beast Liu Bu incited the defection at Cao Cao's Red City and took over dominance. Cao Cao withdrew. When he's on the way back, the Beast went across the river, attempted to harass Zhengzhou City, but Zhengzhou was all locked up in defense. The Beast retreated and fortified defense at Puyang, waiting for Cao Cao's coming. This is not very smart move amused Cao Cao. It took people around that. He should actually move forward, occupying all the steeps and cutting on my throat to Zhengzhou, so that he can neither march nor retreat. But he's just not smart enough. He made himself in the bag. Cao Cao confidently held the siege. Soon he got himself a slap on the face. He was a real battle beast. He burnt Cao Cao's camp at night and almost got Cao Cao arrested. Many soldiers were shadowed in battle. Cao Cao made a heavy pay for his underestimation. While he's back to the base, frightened soldiers still panicking, he cut the soldiers one by himself. Before long, the army was reorganized. Therefore, the whole camp started to prepare the next siege. Plenty of machines were made in days. Round 2 presented soon. But there's no direct battle in this time. They both stalemated, as a serious locust plague occurred in this area. Cao Cao retreated 100 days later. September, cephalocism wings, the beast was expanded. Cao Cao ran out of supplies and made no progress. He was so frustrated. Just at the moment, Yuan Shao held out an olive branch from the north. Cao Cao was so attracted, but constantly stopped him. So that he lost the knowledge but gained a new enemy in the north. October, Cao Cao marched across the river and built defense in Dong'e. This year, great prize went insane. Kniblers frequently happened. The fresher soldiers and officers were sent back home to farm. His father, Killer Tao Chen, died. The power was passed on to Cao Cao's lifelong rival, the stray royal Liu Bei. 185 spring, the beast left the plague area and moved the base to Jie. It's less than 100 kilometers to the south of Cao Cao. Route 3 was inevitable. This time the beast paid for his underestimation. Cao Cao lay up successful ambuscade, got a series of wins. Core members were killed in battle. The beast had to beg a harbor from stray royal Liu Bei at the east. The victory brought Cao Cao promotion. He was granted as the highest governor of the Yan state. This year, border rights spread to capital Xi'an. The imperial family escaped and settled in Anyi, Shanxi province. 196 January, Cao Cao went for Yuan Shu, who is a potential threat in the south, holding a connection with the beast. The situation was easier than expected. Yuan Shu dropped down the city and ordered up. As his post is bigger than the strength, Cao Cao lowered on his alert level. Easily, but still alert before this movement, Cao Cao decided to go west to take the emperor back. But his officers and officials had a divergence on this issue. Conservatives thought that the puppet is a waste. Radicals had an opposite opinion. Cao Cao took the advice of Councillor Xun Yu. Cousin Cao Hong was committed to go. However, Posting Yuan was not blind. He also knew the benefits of being a puppeteer. An express courier was sent before Cao Cao. Libels were delivered, so that Cao Hong was blocked on the way by the emperor's guarding troop. Cao Cao had to draw back. Luckily, he won back Emperor's trust after building down several peasant riots in this region. The emperor decided to move back to old capital Luoyang, which is very close to Cao Cao. He won't miss his chance anymore. July drove away the old guardians and moved the emperor to a city with a better palace, as Luoyang hadn't recovered from the Red Ruin yet. Imperial group trusted him and titled him the chief commander. September, the old guardian emperor recruited soldiers attempting to ask his door back. October, Cao Cao came and dropped him a low. Friendly emperor handed over his city and army and ran over to Yuan Shu. But Cao Cao didn't go for them, as years of military consumptions and plagues almost ran off his provisions, so he attentively played the trick. Emperor awarded a high level of title to Yuan Shao then Cao Cao. Yuan Shao finally euphemistically accepted. But that's Cao Cao's idea. He's about to drive the jealousy between his brothers. It takes time to get fruits from the seeds. Cao Cao slowed down his military move and switched his focus into renovating farming system. Agricultural strength recovered soon, and the country's central government ultimately gained back its function from the monster's rats. There's a god-given piece of break for Cao Cao during this years, but an unexpected guest broke the cosmos. Street royal Liu Bei jumped into the camp with no army but a tearful face. Beast betrays his new adopter again. Liu Bei camped for shelter. Constantly noticed Cao Cao that Liu Bei came for us just because he had no better choice. We should kill him now, as he really wins people's heart. This guy is more dangerous than the beast. Cao Cao replied that it's the moment for collecting heroes. We lose people's trust if we kill him. So then Cao Cao settled Liu Bei down at the east line. 197 February, Cao Cao led the defense for Liu Bei went for Zhangqiu, a small warlord at the south. Zhangqiu gave Cao Cao warm reception. The whole army was calmed. Everything went well before the last minute. Cao Cao was actually in a trap. Zhangqiu suddenly raised up an assault, a heavy pounding ban on Cao Cao's loose army. Cao Cao was injured. His horse died with hundreds of arrows on his back. Seeing as Cao hastily transferred his horse to Cao Cao to escape. But his son and nephew became the human shield behind. They both got killed. No time to mourn as Zhang Xiu kept tracking up. Cao Cao rapidly collected the remnants on the way, busily structured up the battle square. Vengeance drove people crazy. Critical soldiers conducted a beautiful counterattack. Zhang Xiu lost his only town, fled southward to Liubiao. Cao Cao drew back to the camp and delivered a presentation to his officers as soon as he arrived. I took nothing as the hostage, that's why he dared to betray me. Guys, put this in mind, just don't make the same mistake as what I did. People were shocked, the first reaction of these guys, thinking back on his mistakes, but not his dead son. Good news reported when Cao Cao's back to the base. The jealousy plan worked. Yuan was about to throw himself as he couldn't stand his arrogant brother in the north. Impatiently shared his secret with the beast, but the beast saw him as an ass. A quick report was sent to Cao Cao immediately. Yuan was so pissed off, I trusted you, he shouted, and ordered the beast to siege. The beast responded to him with a scornful smile before crossing over his opposing army. This is driving Yuan crazy, anger and hatred were all shoved into Cao Cao. Yes, that's all of them. Naturally, Yuan devoted the army to Cao Cao in September. As soon as he saw bigger boats of Cao Cao at Huaiyan, the angers were wiped off, only scared remained. Poor Yuan dropped down his poorer officers behind, all of them got killed. Cao Cao flipped the dust off his shoulder and drew back. While Zhang Xiu reoccupied Wanzhen, several suburban areas responded to him. Liu Biao also invaded him from Hubei, defended Cao who retreated. November, Cao Cao went for the much better than approaching Yuan, so officers and Ji surrendered after resistance. Cao Cao took back this region. Zhang Xiu still in guerrilla. Now he turned to mourn. The ceremony was held in Wanzhen for the dead. Cao Cao dressed by himself with a grief-stricken voice. People knew the whips and warnings for his dead son, but he didn't even mention it. All the words for the dead soldiers. What a top man. 188 January, Cao Cao withdrew to the capital for short adjustment. March, he put back and besieged guerrilla Zhang Xiu in Langxian. Liu Biao reinforced him in time the plan to counter siege Cao Cao outside the city. Cao Cao had to detour his retreat, however, Cao Cao seemed not to be in a hurry, and not to let those sent back to the capital for consultation, predicting the enemy's next move in detail. Before the consul responded, Cao Cao was between the hammer and anvil. People just saw him, they literally sent a transportation team to the Great Duck Tunnel. They went to sleep at a very early night. The next morning, Zhang Xiu and Liu Biao thought Cao Cao's troop had magically disappeared in half, and another half led retreating. Excitement heated up their brains, they jumped into the back. Dozens of squares sallied out from different directions. Zhang Xiu and Liu Biao merged in the masses. July, Prop Cock arrived in capital with its racing tail. The curious consular questioned, "How could you know all this beforehand? Soldiers all eager back home, we both have no patience. So they stock up, lock up." Cao Cao had him a jaunty reply. Zhang Xiu and Liu Biao were left free to go because Cao Cao was actually rushing back for Islam. Northern brother Yuan had an attempt to assault the capital. What's more, the beast sent Gao Sun to attack Liu Bei for southern brother Yuan as a compensation of the previous interim report. Cao Cao sent the most trusted one, Xiahou Dun, to assist Liu Bei. He stayed in the capital for northern threat. The friend of the beast is also a raptor. Gao Sun overturned Liu Bei's new home and defeated Xiahou Dun. Cao Cao had to go by himself in September. As the northern alert had been cancelled, Cao Cao picked up his brags for Beast. October, he conquered the dead fodder-killer city Pengcheng and committed a massacre. The Beast switched defense to beats and Cao Cao traced up. When they arrived, people saw a pair of horrific eyes upon the city walls. Like the predator staring at his prey, soldiers paused, but not Cao Cao. He's fully prepared this time. Expectedly, the beast released out and charged into Cao Cao's glory square. With a sequence of signal horns, the beast was circled up. He had no wings to fly. But the beast was human. He slew out the bloody way and stamped over the mutilated limbs back to the base. However, he paid 2/3 of his earth. Military General Chen Lian surrendered. Cao Cao also had to consider laws. The square was reformed after a while, then Pizan was sieged. The beast tasted fear. Capitulation came up his mind, but court consular Chen Gong didn't want this to happen because he knew Cao Cao would kill them all. He suggested the beast to sally out of Yuan to bring the reinforcement back. The beast accepted. His herds dashed out again. The square was way smaller than the enemy, but very determined. Cao Cao was cautious. He let Master steadily hoot the beast in, keeping draining his energy. The beast gained a blank. He turned back to the city. The herds were exhausted. In Caocao's general attack studied, the beast showed his unimaginable tenacity. He boxed out climbing waves after waves over and over again. The homicidal lies were like an abyss. Never had anyone seen through the bottom of his stamina. Cao Cao just couldn't get up on the wall. A horrid atmosphere occurred in Cao Cao's camp. The soldiers longed for retreat. Hesitation obsessed Cao Cao. He stayed there quite long in silence. Consul Xun and Guojia pulled him out of the marsh. They both pointed to a dam nearby. Enlightened soldiers spent off the last mite of strength pulling down the dam, the flood thrashing into the city in a flash. The flood broke the last wall of the hose. The barn, the essence, the barracks were all watered in and everything was beyond hope. Liu put off his hose and some schemed for self-redemption. The title called Consul tinkled up and rushed out. Gatekeepers were all mute for it. While the beast realized what happened, he was already surrounded by his traders and Cao Cao's army. 8 soldiers wrestled in a rope and carried him to the camp. "This is too tight," Liu complained. "How could it be loose for a beast?" Cao Cao gently replied. "I've already surrendered. Free me, I'll let you get a wound," Liu promised. That's a temptation. Cao Cao almost admitted his surrender. Just at the instant, Liu Bei trotted up and whispered, "Do you still remember how he ended his father? This guy is out of credit." This was convictive. Cao Cao killed the beast and his clique. The 2 demons were eventually eliminated by the will of history. The vivid news of the beast was exploded. Warlords speeded up their expansions. Using a scheme to slow down Cao Cao's racing tendency, a scanner was delivered between his opponents and Cao Cao. Cao Cao said to kill them with a casual excuse. Cao Cao replied, "The country is still unstable. People raise up everywhere because they lost the trust for everything. They kept doubting not to do even if you paid them with your heart. So that if I help you today, will make the situation worse. Moreover, you were born differently from them. Don't mess yourself up with those persons. Forgiveness beats everything." "Failures, I believe that's a trick," he muttered. "What a hypocritical man, full of the damn justice." 199 February, Cao Cao started to build defense around Huang River because he knew that inside a very limited tolerance, army was sent across the river, occupied several towns along the bank. At this moment, Yuan Shao was involved with Gongsun at the northeast, ignored Cao Cao's negligible move. Before long, He and Qingyang were all in control. He recognized the quinton among the captures again. Years ago, he promoted an idol of morality who's called Wei Zong. Cao Cao spoke of him in public, saying that the idol's never ever gonna betray him. But Wei Zong soon gave him a slap. He ran to Yuan Shao just afterwards. People thought that Cao Cao would kill him, but Cao Cao again, unexpectedly forgave Wei Zong, further positioned at a higher level. "Just because you're talented," Cao Cao said to him. Later, Yuan Shao defeated Gongsun and his final enemy in the north, further controlled almost the whole central north of China. The biggest warlord nationwide had been formed. He drained off his last mite of tolerance. More than 100,000 soldiers were gathered at the border facing to the south, unfolded the looming fans. Undoubtedly, that's a clutch. Every choice is that matters. Panic Consular suggested contract defense around the capital. Cao Cao responded with a mysterious smile. The defense was utterly expanded. Cao Cao marched across the river and sped the army at the north bank. The main force was concentrated at Guandu, which is the direct fortress of Xuchang. People questioned this move, but Cao Cao answered, "I know Yuan Shao too much. This guy has stronger ambition than wisdom, stronger fear than courage, stronger jealousy than trust. A large number of soldiers are not classified in armed services. Selfishness are bred up in an arrogant system. So actually he's holding his massive landed treasures waiting for a reaper." Officers immediately responded his deployments as the words were fairly persuasive. Everything was done in September. Cao Cao back to Xuchang since she was still at the boats. But good news was reported. 2 months later, the Aspen surrendered for granted title. As the Red Factor no more existed, Cao Cao went to garrison Guandu himself. Yuan Shao was also close to final. All troops were mobilized. They did understand what's going to be happening. Adults communicated with no words. As the enemy's enemy is a friend, Yuan Shao decided to reconcile his brother to the south. Yuan Shao was invited to go across Caocao's territory, joining the north. He took the risk. Scouts spotted his move. Liu Bei was sent to Beijing to cut the route. He ran northward. It's unusual how he cuts down to Consul Guojian until they urged Cao Cao to chase him back. But it's too late. Liu Bei claimed independence in peace and occupied Beijing. The chasing squad was beaten. Liu Bei left a sentence to Liu Dai and let him go. Hundreds of you guys don't equal me. Asked Lord come and betray himself. Cao Cao knew this strategy. Liu Bei irritated him out for Yuan Shao. He still took the invite. 200 January, Cao Cao got on his war horse. Officers were all stopping, but Cao Cao seemed so determined. He spoke on horseback. Liu Bei is a pole, while he gets a drop of water. It enlightens the ocean. Yuan Shao's a clam, slow and retarded. He warned us to sleep while I'm attacking. Consul Guojian strongly agreed. A quick assault was committed. Liu Bei had to go straight in again. Yuan Shao exactly went with the written script. He didn't come out. Practice tested truth. Cao Cao got to know how much Liu Bei was supported. People had no fear to die for him. His dragon was left at peace to back the retreat. Liu Bei took the rest of the fleet going northward to Yuan Shao. A huge body blocked the army. Cao Cao recognized this guy from a wisp of smooth beard and his 40 meters horseback machete. The dragon Sengguang had been waiting him for long. However, it's impossible to wrestle for legs with one arm. The dragon was beaten. Cao Cao took him back to the base, overjoyedly. The poor Yuan Shao died of illness on the way to his brother. Part of his territory surrendered to Cao Cao. Liu Bei's family was also detained. February, Yuan Shao initiated his siege in Baima. Stanley announced the first place general who was unstoppable while he up the volcanic upon his body. Baima was under crisis. Luckily, Cao Cao fortified this area in advance. The stone was temporarily stuck, but Cao Cao dared not spot as Yuan Shao's main force was about to cross the river from Yanjing. Go Baima or stay, he sucked in a dilemma. April, Baima did need the rescue, but Cao Cao still ordered. Consul Xunyu analyzed. The main force will cut in if we go Baima, but why don't we cut in before they do? We can march across the river and fake the body's flank in the west, while they split the main force, we shifted to Baima. That was done. Cao Cao put this into action. The army raised a big splash, crossing the river and posted at the opposite point Yanjing. Yuan Shao was simply distracted. The main force struck up a slow body, moving towards the west. The east line was left blank. Cao Cao picked up his dead to die cause. Actually, this is a quite correct move of Yuan Shao, because as Yuan Shao occupies Yanjing, he throws Cao Cao in the throat. While Yuan Shao was dipping himself in a strong complacence, a stump square befell Baima. Yuan Shao was right, but Cao Cao just ran quicker. The stump head threw up his volcanic and heavy, dropping jaw with an extremely frightened face, hastily rode on his war horse coming out of the camp. The dragon didn't make him wait too long. He chilled him out of in the air with his 40 meters machete. Soldiers had no will to fight anymore as they lost their first place commander. They gave up resistance. The dragon reaped plenty of supplies with some riders, and now they moved the other residents away west along the bank. Yuan Shao was shocked. He speeded up his way to Yanjing, this time around quicker. Cao Cao's throat was grabbed. Squad was sent one after another along the bank to Baima. At first, it stressed on Cao Cao. Sizable trophies and supplies were still left behind. Retreating from Baima was another choice, but it's impractical as Yuan Shao would be quicker to Guandu. Thus, Cao Cao posted on an amber waiting for the coming supplies. He ordered to build a tower, scouting Yuan Shao's move unwinkingly. Suddenly, Scout shouted, "Enemy detected, cavalry 5 to 600. Seconds later, updated, cavalries increased, inventories." He choked with a drop of sweat falling down the cheek. Not even a wink, he continued, "Inventories countless." "Stop it," Cao Cao ordered. Repressions laid it upon the camp to the passive defense might be the safest option. The officers suggested to construct a square in camp, but Cao Cao seemed to have a different opinion. "Take off the saddles and release the horse," Cao Cao shouted. The whole camp reacted, but people were quite confused. Just as Consul Xunyu ran in over the camp, keeping saying something in the officers' ears. Minutes later, confidence showed upon their faces. "We're ready," said the officer. "Hold on," Cao Cao replied without even looking at them. The eyes were firmly staring at the enemy, holding capture with every single move. No one dared to breathe. Everyone in the camp was looking at Cao Cao, waiting for his order. Now, he yelled out. Not even a second hesitation. Soldiers all rushed out of the camp, charging into the already disordered enemy squares. Constantine climbed up the tower and did enjoy the live play of a coming victory. The unsettled horses caused the dawning brook, dispersed the animal busy in wrapping supplies, and lost the command. Cao Cao's elites assembled living hammer, keeping smashing in the enemy's joints. The second place general Wen Cao was killed in chaos. Hanzo wasn't even a bit ready to accept this human miracle. Both of his arms were cut off within days. No one dared to be the third anymore. The main force fled to the west. Adjustment started at Yangwu. Cao Cao got away back to Guandu. The dragon farewell to Cao Cao after battle. All the words were returned in original shape. It's not long for Liu Bei. Guan Yi left the camp under the public gaze. Curiosity obsessed Cao Cao's officer. "You crazy, you feeding the enemy." People wanted to say something bad, but Cao Cao stopped them. The sign tongue shared the feeling with people around. He didn't surrender, but I freed him so that he wanted to pay me back before leave. He announced his promise. Now I'm mine. He's only loyal to Liu Bei can help. Let go. The joining of the dragon was a cardiac for Yuan Shai, boosted gloomy morale. Yuan Shai's broken pride was found back. August, he marched across the river from the west flank. This time he's much more cautious. Military camps lined up the queue one after another, covering up each other, keeping moving forward to Guandu progressively. Cao Cao also switched formation to holding play. Then the seesaw game started. Yuan Shao tunneled in, Cao Cao tunneled back. Yuan Shao built ramparts, Cao Cao gave archers feet. Situation turned unfavorable to Cao Cao's smaller army. Wounded soldiers occupied 3 out of 10 in the camp. The effective participants were less than 10,000. Yuan Shao tipped the balance. The air pressure went higher and higher, shadows were shed on the ground, a concrete shadow. Millions of arrows fell from the sky without an inch of interspace. Soldiers were horrifically scared. They hurry-scurry sought for shields, like skinny mice running around for shelters. The scene was absolutely a mess. All was poured on fire. Cao Cao was aggravated. A lack of supplies, lack of healthy soldiers, lack of morale, lack of everything. Put up arms like saying retreat. Just at the moment, Constellation stepped out the boat, the level of elegance was like nothing had just been happening. Relaxed face emerged with his racing air. He started to say, "Even if we quit now, situation won't be better. Yuan Shao is are here, so do we. We got nowhere to hide. It's a fight for both of us. Why do we quit before they do?" A bigger army doesn't mean everything, as Yuan Shao's just a so-called hero who is able to gather people, but not coherent people. You are different. You're pointing a way out for intellectuals, making the system more clean than ever. Why don't we fight for what we've earned? Everyone was immersed in the speech, including Cao Cao. On the other side, Yuan Shao also got an excellent counselor. She suggested to split the army into several isolated divisions, holding play with Cao Cao, then threw a quick team out, sent to his captain from the field pass, take the emperor back to make him yield. "This is good tactic, but Avengers capture," Yuan Shao replied. "I'm gonna make these bastards down first." Xu Yu was disappointed. It seemed that everyone wanted to handle the puppet lines except Yuan Shao. Sun family noticed this chance. The reader, Sun had always been awaiting this moment. The army was prepared for a long time, but he was assassinated in a domestic conflict. The family had to cancel the plan. Nevertheless, Sun Tzu wasn't the only one who noticed the chance. Liu Ping made Cao Cao trouble a red city, Lunan as well. It's less than 160 kilometers to the capital. The messengers asking for assist. Liu Bei was nonchalantly sent to him by Yuan Shao. The alliance hot for the Xuzhang. Luckily, they got a chance to contest the #1 defender Cao Ren, but unluckily Cao Ren kept the lessons. Liu Bei went on string as usual. A rare victory didn't make too much impact to the front line. They couldn't do much to stop Hanzo's slow push. Moreover, Caocao still had no solution to supplies in hand. Soldiers were tired. Transport was also exhausted as they shuttled capital back and forth. Caocao settled quarters in public. Will not cow Hanzo within 15 days for you guys hold it. At the instant, a loud voice came from distance. Enemy supply team detected. Scout reported with the Brits still panting. Xunyu sent Xu Huan and Si Huan as soon as they did, Caocao admitted. They had to come back with a trump in a short while. He only left this stack of ash for Hanzo. Stabbed as killing elephant, Hanzo's spacious lands and rest supports were still there. October supply team came again, 5 escorts committed with 10,000 soldiers for this mission. The bomb was set at Wutao, Yanding area, which was less than 20 kilometers from Hanzo's camp. It's also close to Caocao. Obviously, doing something with the bomb would be possible, but they should go across Hanzo's main force first. That's risky. However, if not, the attrition rate would kill them anyway. Caocao was so suffocating. Hanzo really held his throat this time. The sound of the broken truck eased the frown. The disappointed Councillor Xu left the Hanzo for Caocao. Go to Wutao now, go! He shouted to everyone. Caocao was dubious, but Councillor Xu and Judge patted him on the back. Trust this guy, he works for money. Caocao agreed after a moment of hesitation, jumped on the horseback and left Cao in the camp. That was a forlorn hope. 5,000 cavalry galloped at full speed, successfully arrived at Wutao before the next morning. Guardian Changchun was astonished. A quick courier was launched to Hanzo immediately. Fidget Changchun recovered from mentioning it soon. The army is 2 times bigger than Caocao. Why do I need to be afraid? Inspired Changchun lined up his cracks outside the camp. A real crack band on his cracks. Caocao had no time to enjoy his muscle shows. Scared Changchun struck into the camp. And the racing swords pointed into the camp. A siege was about to start, but officers guarding from both sides were reporting that Hanzo's on the way coming. We should watch our back. Ain't no die, there's no fucking back. Everyone heard his howl. Dueling soldiers were desperately squeezing into the camp because they got no way to back. Changchun's Pounder's helmet was dropping down with his heavy wrapped head. The mission was beautifully done before the reinforcement. Hanzo was still complacent before this update, confidently told his on the side, look, Caocao will become homeless soon. The main force was pouring into Guandu. Zhang was decimated. This is a critical moment. Hanzo's reinforcements slowed down Caocao's retreat. On the other hand, Cao was paying his life needlessly at Guandu to untold was their cousin. Zhang's siege wasn't very smooth. The gnashing face shed out a deep remorse for Hanzo. Just before setting off, he suggested to assist Wutao with the main force, but Hanzo won't listen. A light cavalry squad was roughly picked up, dispatching to Wutao. This fatal misjudgment killed his face. Actually, Zhang had a nod for detail. Caocao took his elite towns, a god-given chance was indicated. To annihilate his core power and members outdoors. As long as they got Caocao called, Guandu becomes a decoration. However, it's too late to regret. Zhang Gaolan surrendered soon after they heard defeat of Wutao. Bad news drop on Hanzo one after another. The truth persistently challenges fondled nerves. No, I never lose. He won't believe until hearing Hanzo really coming back for him with the weapons. Moreover, Caocao sallied up at the north along with his highly raising sword. It's too late to retreat. A civilized soldiers seemingly looking for you inside the camp. They still don't know that the commander had already deserted them, escaping northward only with his song. More than 70,000 soldiers slaughtered, trophies were beyond count. Caocao couldn't wait to see Zhang after battle, complaining that why enjoy staying in the bush? Wasn't forsaking darkness for like good? A stack of letters were found during the harvest. They were between Xu and Hanzo. Caocao burned them all in front of Xu without even a look. Hanzo took the suggestion of Councillor Guotu rather than Zhang. As soon as Wutao was done, Guotu whispered that Zhang was happy about the result. It contributed to Zhang's surrender. Things that hit Caocao's prediction. Hanzo's system really bred up selfishness. Running Hanzo went across the river, Caocao gained a comprehensive victory of the Duel of Guandu. 201 April, Caocao across the river, Strobians of the last straw battle was taken at something. Not even a show was left respectfully. Hanzo was totally removed from the back area. What's more, Libby was out as well. He didn't come back to Hanzo after the capital assault. Thus, ended the stable point as there's no bigger warlord than him now. 202 January into the hometown glorious and a reception for heroes delivered by fellows. Then an impressive speech was given as a payback. A pair of depressed eyes was unexpectedly showed upon his face. I rise up for justice, for saving people out of rights. His sincere responded to call and join me here. But today when I walk around the town, I don't see anyone I know. Then I realize the people I know all died in the battles. You guys know how miserable it feels? The Matters family please adopt someone as your kids. I provide them the lands and cattle, also a proper education. The temples will be set up soon, you get away to pray. I wish the dead could see so that I have no regret to die. Absolutely, Hanzo's written was not glorious. The broken thing caused plenty of rebels in his territory. Hanzo paid them with the violence. Obviously, he didn't walk for his decline. Poor Hanzo took his anxiety and frustration into the coffin in May. Two of his sons shared heritages. They were the senior son Yuantan and third son Yuanshan. The happy transition of entitlement was transitory since I camped them in September. The young blood worked together to organize the resistance, but they were just like two little young cubs in front of a no fox, so I camped on Lian after a sequence of wins. 203 March, a siege was delivered. The brothers incomprehensibly lurched out, initiating a melee. Young blood smiled and played them a distant void under the city wall. Then a lesson was given in how to deal with impulsions. The brothers abandoned the city after lose. Tata tried to the cavalry and clubbed them in, robbed all the wheat and left. Jiaxing was struck by Li and Tata was through to Xutang in May. Young blood needs time to grow up. There would be a potential threat. Tata did notice this, but he still quit at this very moment. An incomprehensible confidence which seemed so well thought out. The focus was switched to internal affairs. Announcements were published one by one after they came back. First was for the officers. I always reward victories, but not punish defeats. This is not the way to make progress. From now on, people flee into battle die. Officers who lose the battle, please be ready for demotions. Another was for the officials. Committees stiffer against the entitlement of miserable workers. I don't know what people with no exploits, just like I can title people with no talents. Morality is valued in peace, but exploits are valued in very turbulent days. Your comments are just like picking at an elephant from a hole of straw. The last one was for easy and blood. 15 years ago, since the beginning of the riots, society is immeasurably damaged, especially in morality. I'm so sad that today's kids have already forgotten humility and etiquette. Schools have been responsible for it. Please fix up the social moral code for implementing literary education. Picking up the answers from our ancestors. Local governments must build schools for areas over 500 families. Pay more attention on teacher selections. Making the education accessible. All affairs were done in July. In August, Oasis arranged for the South Liu bearing his return and Liu Bei's army was grouped at Sibi. But a cutting message stopped the proceeding. The brothers were having a serious doggy-dog soon after they left. Senior brother Yuantan was asked for assist from Caocao after a failure bite. Exactly that the father and uncle. History is always strikingly similar. Caocao burst out his laughter. That's where his confidence was from. He believed in Yuan family's heroic genes. Yuanshan seized his brother's opinion. Officers thought that's a stalling tactic. Yuantan wasn't a brilliant guy, but Tata still decided to go under a strong endorsement of Xunyu. The Southern plan was cancelled soon. October, younger brother Yuantan drew back to Yanzhen after hearing that Tata's coming. Yuantan was rescued from the siege. People asked Tata why he left Liu before Yuantan. He answered, "Hermit crab looks for show, not for career." Liu was this type. He stayed there when I attacked Liu Bu. He was still there when I suffered in Guandu. Hermits look for peace, but not Yuan brothers. They're much better when they work together. We gotta do them now where they strive. Young people were so easy to be seen through officers. Alright, Yuantan started his scheme soon after. A military seal was secretly ordered to his old general, but Lu Kong reported him. Tata told everyone without surprise, "I know this guy thinks that I'm done for him, but actually he's done for me as well. He's time to values after I get the land from his brother." Then the arranged marriage was dealt at Liyan. Yuantan's daughter was taken as the hostage for Tata's son, Cao Zhen. crisis didn't wake up the consciousness, brothers still stuck in the fight. The next year, February, Yuan San threw back to Pingyuan again. Cao Cao put the shovel aside and picked up his rapier. The target was Yeltsin. The Independence screwed up business defender Su Yuan and played the boxing game inside the city. Defeated, Su Yuan ran up stranded Cao Cao while the army arrived in Huanshui, which was 30 kilometers away from Yeltsin. A besiege started soon. As the capital was well-built in installations, Sun Pei stacked on defensive stance, planning a protracted fight. The stalemate lasted to April. It's not a big deal if we're not Fox. A bingo came up his mind. The job was struck to Cao Hong again. Cao Cao pulled out his cracks. Then a sweet path was given to Yeltsin. Han Dan, Yi and Moulton all fell to Cao Cao one after another. Sun Pei was absolutely isolated. No more supply of support would be given at all. Cao Cao showed him no mercy. A cycling train was insanely dashed up during a single night. What the enthusiasm from Hanzo ruthlessly. Sun Pei was in critical condition. 2 months later, the death numbers would be on a half. Yuan San had to stop biting his brother. Army was posted pulling back in July. Question compared to Cao Cao. The military movement lasted for almost half a year. Soldiers were less active. Officers suggested they would dodge temporarily as enemies long for home would be a cutting edge. Cao Cao replied a minute later, if it comes from the avenue, we withdraw. If from the alley, we stay. Officers took it in. Yuan San didn't disappoint them. It did come from the alley with more than 10,000 soldiers at the night. Army posted at Jiangping encamped by Fushui River. Yuan San's signal was sent by the torchlight. This very smart move was also seen by Cao Cao. After a short while, Sun Pei launched out from the north gate. Yuan San climbed up in time. Cao Cao wasn't in a hurry. The already mobilized army broke the counter siege effortlessly. Sun Pei struck back to Yeltsin. Yuan San fled south to camp by Quzhang. Couriers were set for suing the peace, but Cao Cao dismissed and alternatively paid them a siege. Panicked Yuan San sallied up before the circle was up. However, the chasing didn't stop. Yuan San was caught again at Lankou. I don't like this. He decided to plug up. Ma Yan and Zhang Yu lined up for a counterattack. They bore down upon Cao Cao without hesitation. For surrender. Yuan San was freaked out. He scuttled off to Zhongshan, dropped everything behind. Cao Cao took all the captures back to Yeltsin. From the mob under the city wall, defenders saw their relatives in the lines. The world entirely collapsed. Sun Pei never sent them back to capitulate, but Sun Pei was stubborn like a rhino. He refused to accept any type of surrender. Paizian never betrayed his dear uncle on the extreme level of survival. The escape was quietly unfolded at the night. Hungry Cao Cao dashed into Yeltsin in a second. Sun Pei was stunned and yelped in hard bursts at the last roar of a warrior. A bloody hand-to-hand fight was taken in and out square, but it ended by the victory of Cao Cao. Arrested, Sun Pei asked nothing but death. Cao Cao satisfied him. Subordinate Xinpi didn't get on well with Sun Pei. He surrendered to Cao Cao after battle. While Sun Pei was tied down, Xinpi humiliated him with the lashes on the face. Kept cursing that, "You die today, bastard!" Sun Pei replied, "Is that your guys decide my fate? Even dogs don't bite their owners. Bad dogs like you gotta be killed." Zhang Ziqian surrendered to Cao Cao beforehand. He smiled to Sun Pei scornfully. "How do you think you're better than me?" Sun Pei fulminated, "My honor dash shaped the flunky life." Later, Cao Cao met Sun Pei at the president asking that, "You know, open the gate." "No, your own nephew. He's too young to be trusted." "How could you have so many bows inside?" "I regretted and made more to bury you here." Cao Cao muffled at his guards and attempted to free them. "You probably have to be like this." Cao Cao actually means now you don't have to. He needed acceptance. But Sun Pei had no good rules given back. Moreover, Xinpi and the rest of Pili nearby, Cao Cao executed Sun Pei in the end. During the execution, Sun Pei asked the headsman to face his body and near to the north. The last words, "My lord is there." The death of Sun Pei changed Cao Cao's mind of Yuan Shao. He sunk himself in weeping well in front of Yuan Shao's tomb. The sorrow was also for the time they'd been through. They knew each other since young age. What will you do if you fail? How do you think? I move to the north, annex all the tribes, the natural barriers, block all my threats, then I store energy waiting for the chance. Isn't that right? How about you? Eyes our talents, collect heroes, unified our thoughts and build an invisible system. To young bloods who don't know that the mountain doesn't have two tigers, the deal was inevitable sooner or later. But luckily the young men both made up their rules years later, under the different paths. Business won't be affected by emotions. September, an announcement was published. Urban suffer from your family for loan tax of this year is cancelled. Then the following strike counter local laws, new laws brought them monopolism. Underclasses were delighted. Caocao stepped on the rostrum again. In this country, having inequality is worse than having poverty. Having no safety is worse than having balance. Yuan Shao connive monopolism, indulge nepotism, transfer taxation of burden to people in dark, flay their life in the visible, some pay cover crimes for his clan, conceal outlaws for personal interest. But they still dream to have social harmony. Is it possible? Now in my territory, the tax is lowered down to 2 units of silk, 2 units of cotton. Local governments have no right to raise. Supervisors must be conscientious of your duty. Don't make tax evasions happen on rich. Scapegoating happen on poor. December, army marched to Pinyin for Yuan Tan. He stole his brother's force around Zhongshan without permission when Cao Cao was at the siege of Yezhou. Yuan Shao was kicked to Guan. This event involved innocence. Cao Zhen lost his fiancée. Yuan Tan's daughter was sent back. 25 January, Yuan Tan was terminated an MP. The daughter and wife became burial objects. Announcement was published soon after he died. Officers for Yuan family civil are given a new chance to start with a clean slate. People are not allowed to practice personal grudges. Have a plain funeral for victims. Conspicuous ways are prohibited. In his months of music, he happened upon Yuan Shan. He's kicked out again by Jiao Cui and Zhan. Second brother Yuan Xi took him to Wuhan tribes and Jun Wuhan adopted them. Jiao Cui and Zhan handed over the towns, treated the titles. Cao Cao fulfilled them. A group of runaway labours were handed out at the same time. They escaped from the Kubei when Cao Cao was playing with Yuan Tan. Some labours come for confession of crime. Cao Cao told them, "I break my life, I free you, but if not, I feel sorry for your honesty. Go now, get somewhere to hide, don't be caught again." Labourers ran out with hanging tears, however, they got caught again by beetles. Then Cao Cao spent a couple of months to settle letters into capitalism, but Yuan Shan seemed not to be able to give any break. He led Wuhan country back to Guangping in April. Zhao Duhun killed the city officials at Guan to respond to him. Luckily, Black Mountain Mafia Zhang asked for joining. More than 100,000 human resources were integrated in. Cao Cao was ready to go for them in August. Guan was taken back soon. Zhao Duhun off up the hairs, proceeding native to Guangping. Yuan Shan Wuhan retreated out of Shanghai Guan before the physical contact. September, an announcement was written for this less cultivated area. Forming cliques to act in collusion is not a value of a personal virtue. Ridiculous social slanders are generated here, just like people slandered Zibu Yi committing adultery with his sister-in-law, but they never got a brother. People slandered fifth Zibu Yi committing violence to his father-in-law, but always wives orphans. One form of atrocity was said to be married by one son's righteous indignation turned out to be heterodoxy. Flatterers, also Mr. Black and White, play fraud between 9 layers and lower. It's my shame if I don't make them out. Then Cao Cao drew back to it in October, as Yuan Shao's nephew Gao Gan be very naughty while he was at the north of Wuhan. Gao Gan knocked up Hu Guan and Yue Jin Li locked him inside Hu Guan Kou. 26 January, Cao Cao's sister Yue Jin and Li Dian Hu Guan was put down 3 months later. Gao Gan ran away before seeing notice. Han's tribe rejected to adopt him, thus Gao Gan fled southward. Officer Wang Yan called him in Sanluo. The head was posted to Cao Cao. Cao Cao finally got a break. Military move resumed in August. The target was a gang of pirates. Captain lost the game easily as Chen Yu Guan absconded along with his sailors to sea. Cao Cao redistricted several regions here, deployed defense. October, a new announcement was baked out. Some people prefer to see absolute obedience, but not me. Obviously, I've been always seeking for different voices this year. However, few consultations impressed me. Isn't it my fault of being not diligent enough? Guys of departments, please give me more advice from now. I would like to see reflections on every domain. In the end of this year, Cao Cao managed several canal work. Pinglu Quanzhou branches were nearly dredged within 3 months. That's the brace for his Wuhan expedition. 27 February, Cao Cao went back to Yecheng from Tunyu, laid out the last mobilization to his men. We've been through 19 years together, everyone contributed our victories. Merits belong to all of you guys. Here, exploits are shared according to contributions, all out with our reservation. But do remind yourself that our enemy is still there, we can't stop moving. Later, as I hit the walls, more than 20 people promoted, soldiers prized. The whole army was ready for the safari, but officers submitted their anxiety. High liberties are back, Wuhan's greedy and ungrateful, they won't have the real loyalty to Yuan. Is it worth such efforts? Constables got out and said, Liu Bei is not Liu Bei, he will 100% net the Liu Bei's appeal, we must go. The wolves felt the will. May, army arrived in Wuzhong, but weather was unfriendly, flood inundated the coast away, the march was posted in July. Tianzhou guided the masses out from Lulong site, carved out a new Whelan Valley, passed through Baitang, went over Pinggan, sneaked by Xianbei tribe, then pointed to Liuzhen at full speed. Sentry leaped into Titan's yet breathlessly reporting this emergency in not haste. The half-beaten kicker was dropping down from Titan's wide-open door. Cao Cao was less than 83 kilometers away. A bunch of fitful hooves echoed around the vast grassland that was the assembly of nomads. The west sheepnote and right sheepnotes soon gathered towards their camp. A mighty force was assembled in a short while. They fearlessly trooped back to Cao Cao. August, encounter sparked. Cao Cao detected Tado on the top of Bailong Mountain. He saw a swarm of Huns. Not even the soldiers, officers also panicked. The supply was still falling behind, our number rate was over 50%. Cao Cao staring down unblinkingly and met step by side and said, Look, the desultory, you stay, I go. The men took up the lance and turned back before the walls were finished. Cao Cao was totally goaded. Space was suddenly filled up a battle house. Cao Cao launched out all he had. A well-defined body flashed out of masses, directly stabbing the center of a swarm. The lance scratched over square by square without stop. No man stopped it there. Before reaction, the whole field heard his roar. Tardon was already inlaid upon the lamb's head with the head. Storm riders and glanced around with cold-blooded eyes, surrounding, suffused in frightened voice. More than 200,000 people surrendered. Yuan was dumped there, but still at the face, a division of cavalry Ganab escaped. The only civilized area behind was Liaoyang, dominated by Gongsun-Kang, who had always been deaf to central government under the guard of distance. Officers suggested to shoot to bows by this very chance, but Cao Cao negatived confidently. Take it easy guys, go back and wait for the post. Then the army withdrew from Liaoyang, neither too fast nor too slow. Before going fast, scouts delivered up the post. The part of Yuan were in the box. Officers asked Cao Cao in a amazed tone, how come that Gongsun-Kang killed them after he left? He gave no stress to him, did you? Cao Cao smiled, stress will make them work, but loose makes them bite. Don't you forget what kind of person Yuan is? Laughter spread upon the camp. Cao Cao was quite accurate. Yuan was trying to steal Gongsun-Kang's force just after he stepped out.
Bye-bye.
November, Trump's army met a group of nomads at Tizu. Dozens of chiefs of Wu camped for acknowledging allegiance. Sunday generates authority with the flying banners. Above it on the Three Square, Libya did stay in his utopia. Emperor admitted a significant achievement. The position of Sun was abolished, further set up a new one called Sunxiang, particularly for this national idol. But Sansa wasn't really interested in it. He ran off soon after the ceremony. The navy training seemed more important for him. 6 months later, soldiers qualified in sailing. The Arabia was pointed to the utopia without a minute of delay. The mate got ill under an excessive anxiety. He died in August. The unfinished business was passed on to his young son Cao Cao. The young blood had strong compassion in his dad. Defense was soon deployed properly. His distant uncle Liu Bei was dispatched to Fanton, Milton back him up at Xiangyang. They covered each other within 5 kilometers, separated by Hanzo River. September, Tata had a pause at Xingye, which was less than 65 kilometers to them. Scout reported its emergency to Liu Zong. The young blood clenched his fist and asked to take a message back. I surrender, but don't let Liu Bei know. This amused the whole camp of Caocao. Accelerated army started creeping to Liu Bei in silence. Nevertheless, Liu Bei perceived his dirty war before too late. He quickly reacted, shift jam. Update compared to Cao, a quick reaction as well. He dropped down supplies and rushed towards Xiangyang. While he arrived, Liu Bei was already on the way to Dangyang. Sense of gambler told him that he must bet on this very moment. 5,000 men selected for a quick thrust. More than 130 kilometers flipped over within a day. The dead thought they could bound from the death squad, gazed into each other's eyes at Chanban. Caocao's light cavalry was afraid of the ambuscade. They broke away this uncomfortable silence to join the main force behind. The hammer converged in a short while, a whoosh slashed Jiangling. However, Liu Bei already diverted to Hanzo. Liu Bei thought San Liu to rescue him to Xiakou. The presentiment of Caocao was wrong. He lost the last chance to catch Liu Bei alive. The push had to be slowed down. The several counter strategies were given to his new territory. On the other hand, the conscription job was imposed upon Sichuan warlord Liu Zheng to obtain a large number of fresh soldiers from his new zone. Adjustment finished before December, and a parallel navy force was ready for big fights. December, the fleet steered along Changjiang River from Jiangling for Xiakou with great confidence. But a cutting message was reported when they sailed by Baqiu. Sun family was harassing her via the east line to contain its attack for Liu Bei. They allied. Zhangxi was split out to her for Sun family retreated as soon as he arrived. Meanwhile, at the waterline, Cao made a much smaller fleet unexpectedly coming towards him with tiny little sizable ship. The flag of Liu Bei was flying on the top of the mast. Cao burst out laughter, eager for Shui's side. Then the sound of attack was loudly honed. However, things gradually went out of his favor. The featherweight boats were like a bunch of hyenas. They kept stealing meat from Caocao's retarded hawks in different angles. The unparalleled fleet became a real prey. A decisive reaction was made at the moment to cut the loss and took the rest of the fleet dock at the North Riverside, ruling Liu Bei also ceased fire and drew to the south. Cao Cao started to think his navy is less experienced than what the fight opposite Liu Bei gained a very technical system from Sun family. Direct battles would only bring more losses. Situations getting unfavorable, northern soldiers started to act in seasick, a serious plague spread on board. Just at the moment a fleet launch dropped, Cao Cao Liu Bei's traders coming for surrender at a very dark night. Delighted they ejected out of the chamber, leaning on the gun while looking over the sea level moon in extreme excitement. Wait, what do they have on the boat? It's too close to react. Incandescent flames lighted up the sky. The surrender was a trick. Panic soldiers kept jumping into the water. A man burnished up and clutching backward with the wind. He also was turning up a freaking horrible scene. That was absolutely a disaster. Relentless flame engulfed Cao Cao's command ship and also its 20 years accumulation. This place is called Cibi. The Red Waterloo paid Cao Cao an embarrassed retreat. Craftful as Fireforce rushed back to Jiangling for preliminary. Liu Bei was chasing from both paths. Soldiers were in a hurry. They killed each other by stampedes. Howling winds sounded like a town. The messes up air in the road that they had to flatten the potholes with the weeds frequently. Everyone was down in the dumps. Suddenly, Cao Cao tittered on his own there. The face looked so released and satisfied. I got my rifle. Liu Bei is my rival. Then equipped and battered confounded officers. But it's not smart enough. If it's set for air, we're gonna go back horizontally. Officers responded and might have performed with a bitter grin. Actually, Liu Bei planned to burn here, but Cao Cao just had the quicker horse. The number one defender, Cao Ren, was left at Jiangling. Cao Cao took the survivors back to the north. Liu Bei finally got his own territory at the part of Hubei, further expanded to Yunnan and the part of Guangxi. The chase was blocked at Jiangling by Cao Ren, as they didn't expect Cao Ren initiated the charge under such a frustrating moment. Officers commented Cao Ren, "You're a divine incarnation." Due to the Islam harassment of her fate, a biography of Cao Cao has different record with a biography of Sun Quan. The former claimed that harassment can be thought to be, the latter is opposite. No matter how, the Red Waterloo only has one official record. Till in March, Cao Cao woke up from his temple. The Navy started rebuilding at Bordeaux, this time in order to renovate the light-duty warship. July, new fleets set sail at Guo River, transited Huai River, anchored at Fei River, then the troop landed at Hefei. This is not a real move, Cao Cao came on purposes. Firstly, the marshal showed the Sun family that he's still there. Secondly, he needed a public propaganda to explain the failure. Thus, a well-groomed announcement came up. The plague took away victories and families. This is not what I want to see. Local governments, please pay more attention on those families which lost their only sons. Keep funding them, don't stop. Then he monitored a couple of reclamations of lands and drew back the border in December. 2021 spring, one more famous announcement was written for talent selection. Some people fish in dirt, some people dress in dust, some people lack conscience, some people suck in serious bias. This is the future of underclasses, full of trifles twisting their hearts. They don't even have time to think about moral issue, still less realize talents. Our door should always keep open for folks. Local governments must build an effective access for the hidden ones. I'll employ anyone from any class as long as you have talents. The booming policy lifted up the overall atmosphere of studying, social scholars become active. It's fairly ahead of time. In Chinese, it's called 唯才是举. Later, Caocao generalized the performance report of this years and laid upon personal aspirations. I was young when I first became a city mayor. I was so afraid of being a mediocrity, so I tried my best to clean the system to actualize my value. The more we moved to choose for somebody else, the threat to my family, so I quit and went to claim sickness. I was still young when I came back. I actually planned to hide for another 20 years and just study recovery in disorder. So I built myself nice study rooms, pubs, and read in summer and home in winter. I cut all social contact to make everything easier. The tiny little wish was to have a piece of small land to sustain my life. I thought about the age here without being noticed by anyone. But my wish didn't come true. Government recalled me to be a military officer. Honestly, I was quite happy because this is what I've always been looking for. I dreamed to die as a general, dreamed to contribute to our country with the weapons so that people could still remember me when I pass away and I can write something cool on my tombstone. That was all I wanted and all I want. The monsters' raids happened. Everyone's imagined their fools, but not me. Absolutely, I got it done. I only left 3,000 soldiers in the camp because I really had limited desire. Then I was appointed to Hanzo for the peasant revolution. 300,000 people surrendered to me. That was the first time I was noticed by the others. Thus, Hanzo quit the idea of self-crowning. He told everyone that reason is are still alive. He is actually quite close to it. His men prepared him the costume, the system, the positions, the era name, and 2 of his wives are fighting for the queen. But luckily I broke his dream. He lost the battle and died in depression. However, his brother was still there with much stronger force than I had. I was afraid. I didn't think I could beat him. But when I think it over, nothing could be fearful anymore. It's a death I boast, wasn't it? At least it could be taken into history as I die for my country, die for justice. It's exactly what I wanted. It's worth the death. Luckily I won the game and also won over 2 of his sons. That's the power of faith. Then I noticed that Liu was bossing me there. He saw me as a evil. But is he capable to save the country out of organization? Definitely not. So I took his land back, and then it's the cession of the center of the territory. I'm saying the following sentence sincerely without arrogance. If it's not me, how many emperors are gonna enthrone themselves in this land? Tell me. The accommodator stopped doubting my loyalty. I'm in the highest position of an imperial worker. It's already beyond my aspiration. I am satisfied. If you think you're better than me, come have a try. To the test of whether loyalty will be eroded or not at my position. Please don't put your own thoughts upon me as a cover of a personal desire. I'm not you. On the other hand, I understand you, cause I do have power and I'm not a believer of fatalism. But I promise that I won't steal rights from people, including the Emperor. Not only to your guys, I often share this value to my wives as well. I told them that they must remarry someone if one day I died, so that my thoughts pass on to more people. For my sons, I give my power to them, in case that one day the riots happen again. In the end, I'm returning my tax rights to the Emperor. He awarded me 4 contests, but I only need 1 to keep things going. I'll fight for this country to the end of my life. Commentators, please stop gossiping.